Everybody, Evan Freiberger here with yet another weather forecast here. And yeah, we've been tracking potentially for some snow. We've had a little bit of a downgrade on that, still monitoring that ice storm that's happening out there as well. And then now we have some severe weather making it into the mix. So we're going to be talking about all of that and more in today's forecast. And in the future, if you do end up liking this video, make sure you hit that like button and also subscribe as well. Really helps out the channel. And yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, looking at the broad view of things, we do have this storm that is currently ongoing down here into Texas, Oklahoma, and pushing this forward. You can see a lot of folks are going to be getting rain down into Austin, San Antonio, then over there near the Houston area. And then we have this large, widespread area of freezing precip that is going to be rain, by the way. It's not going to be ice falling from the sky. It's just going to be rain that is falling that is going to freeze as it makes contact with the ground. And then after that moves through, so this is the current conditions pretty much, and then moving this up to the north, you can see that's pretty much going into the evening hours here at around 12 p.m. We're going to be seeing this transition into mainly rain as that moves off to the north, still with some ice or icing potential over there near Wichita, also over here near Springfield, Bloomington, Chicago, and near Fort Wayne there as well. And then pushing that all the way to the north, you can see this storm really struggles to transition really into any measurable snow up here in Iowa. I mean, this is going to be some pretty heavy snowfall, but it's not going to really stick around for very long. It's just going to kind of briefly happen to move off to the north pretty quickly as we go into 1 p.m. on the 23rd there. And then we have this widespread area of rain and potentially thunderstorms start to develop on the 23rd, going into the evening hours here, and then into the overnight hours. We are still seeing those storms down there. So that's going to be that severe weather we're going to be talking about. So we'll go over that in more detail. And then kind of coming over here to the northeast, you can see some snow is also going to make it up there into northern New York, going into Vermont, New Hampshire. Eventually, it's going to make it into Maine. And we also have some freezing precip on the backside of that as well. And then kind of moving back over here to the west coast, you can see we continue to have a pretty much a mess out there. I mean, look at that. These storms come in one after the other, bringing some snow in the mountains, and that's pretty much it. And then, another storm on the backside is going to be expected here on the 24th as well. So a lot of different things to go over in this forecast. Let's go break these things down with a little bit more detail on what you can expect on all these different threats here. All right, looking at the expected freezing precip amounts from here going into the next day here, you can see that we are going to see that freezing precip, around 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch still to fall here, going into Arkansas, Missouri, all the way up there into Illinois, as well as northern Indiana, southern Michigan as well could get in those 1/10 of an inch there. And then also maybe another 1/10 of an inch down here near Oklahoma, and maybe some spotty areas of potential of 1/10 of an inch over there in Nebraska going into Kansas. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely seeing some major impacts already from this storm in terms of traffic conditions. Already heard of a lot of wrecks that are happening out there. So please, guys, I've been seeing a lot of videos out there of a lot of people outside in their cars driving around when they really shouldn't be. So if you watch this forecast, please do not be one of those people unless you very, very have to be going out on the streets and driving in these conditions, especially down here in Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri. Coming over to a little bit further to the east, we're going to see that freezing precip kind of continue into Indiana, southern Michigan, also northwestern Ohio, and then it really starts to die off as it moves off to the east. But some models are indicating maybe some higher ice accumulations over here near Pennsylvania and New York. So definitely going to have to watch out for all of that as well. Looking at the estimated snowfall totals over here, you can see that we got kind of a downtrend on the storm, as it really does seem like now as we get closer to this event that the snow is going to really struggle to transition into snow and drop a decent amount of snow really for anybody except for people over here potentially in eastern Michigan, just kind of the north and east of Lansing, Michigan there. But over here in Wisconsin, Iowa, and northern Illinois, looking like we have a pretty significant downtrend here of maybe a dusting to like an inch or two over here, just kind of to the south of Stevens Point near Oshkosh and Manitowoc. And then, going a little bit further to the east, 4 to 5 inches possible for Flint, 2 to 3 inches over here for Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Mount Pleasant, Traverse City, maybe getting a dusting to an inch, maybe 2 inches. And then as we move over to the east, you can see that maybe a little bit more snowfall is going to be possible over here in New York, around Buffalo and Rochester, 2 to 3 inches, Syracuse, 1 to 2 inches, Utica, 1 to 2 inches. Then over here near Watertown, Fort Drum and Adams and Clayton, New York could potentially get into those 5, maybe even 6-inch marks. And then everyone else, to the east of that, Schenectady, Albany, over there near Multiplier, could potentially get those 2 to 3, maybe some isolated spots of 4 inches on the peaks of the mountains. Same thing over here in New Hampshire, with a little bit higher snowfall totals as you go further to the south near Concord, potentially 3 to 4 inches there. Franklin, 4 to 5. And then as you go into Maine, really not talking about too much of an impactful storm here for Maine, nothing that you guys can't handle out there. And then kind of looking over at the west here, not a whole lot of people in lower elevations are going to be getting snow out of this storm. This mainly going to be a rainfall event for the coast, almost for the entire west coast there, with only the mountainous regions picking up any additional snow. And some of those totals could get up to 4 to 5, maybe even some isolated spots out there of up to a foot of snow, especially over here in the Sierra Mountains. All right, now talking about the severe weather that's entering into the picture, we have a 1 out of 5 for severe weather for parts of Texas here, maybe a little bit there for Louisiana. This is going to be tomorrow. And as you can see, San Antonio, New Braunfels, Austin, Round Rock, College Station, Houston, League City, Galveston, Beaumont, Victoria, and Corpus Christi are going to be in that risk. You're going to have a 2% for tornadoes, which basically means 2% that a tornado can happen within a 25-mile radius of you. So if you live in Victoria, it would look something like this. You got a 2% chance of a tornado happening within that circle there. And then over here, looking at the damaging wind risk, we also have that for Corpus Christi, Victoria, kind of the same areas that I just highlighted just a second ago. And then the hail risk is pretty much non-existent for the storm. So mainly just talking about heavy rain, the potential for some damaging winds, so maybe like a severe thunderstorm warning or two, and a low chance for a tornado, but not non-existent. So definitely have a way to get alerts. If one does happen, we will go live and cover it. I'll be watching the radar all day that day just to make sure that nothing happens. Hopefully, I don't have to do anything else. And if something does happen, we'll be able to go live for that. But the next day, we also have another marginal risk. This is going to be for Victoria, Houston, League City, Galveston, Beaumont, Lafayette, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Gulfport, Mobile, Laurel, Hattiesburg, Macomb, and Natchez there. And you can see it's kind of a large area here. And again, that's going to be because we have that fuel for these storms going to be available in this area, which we will be going over those kinematics and timing of the storm just after we talk about this. We don't have the categorical risk for this event, but it's going to be very similar to this. We'll probably have like a 2% tornado risk out here somewhere. It wouldn't surprise me 100% if we got like a little tiny 5% near the coast. If we do get a little bit of an uptrend in the models and maybe a slight risk down there, but as of right now, it's kind of looking marginal on the models and not enough confidence to really push it past that point in terms of severity. But yeah, let's go over and talk about the timing for these storms and what you guys can expect. All right, starting off with current conditions out there, should be pretty rainy over here near Austin and College Station. Some rumbles of thunder are getting started, but that's really not going to ramp up until we get later in the evening after this line starts to form near College Station in Victoria, then Beaumont at around 4 p.m. And then that kind of dies off there and then kind of moves up to the north and east. And then as we go into the 23rd, the atmosphere kind of recharges and then tries to put down some more severe weather. We're going to have a little bit more fuel for the storms with this next little line here. And as you can see, there's kind of a widespread area of some stronger thunderstorms moving into Shreveport at around 4 p.m. And then that moves through mainly just Louisiana down there near Monroe, kind of just to the north of Beaumont, Alexandria, about to enter into Lake Charles by around 8 p.m. there. Also have some wider spread, heavier rain and thunderstorms happening over here in Arkansas, going through Jonesboro and Memphis as well. And then as we push this through, you can see that line kind of disorganizes a little bit. Not going to be as much of a severe weather threat. What is the environment that's going to be available for the storms, and why is it marginal and not like anything worse than that? So pushing this into later today, you can see that there is going to be some moisture, but it's not going to be enough. It's really going to start to get started at around the 23rd there. You can start to see more greens and yellows down here near Corpus Christi, Victoria, right around that Houston area as those storms roll through. And that's why we're going to be getting some severe weather there. And then that instability and fuel kind of moves off to the east here. And you can see, we get another uptick here of those light greens and yellows, which indicates more fuel for the storms as we go into 3 p.m. on the 24th. And yeah, I mean, there is fuel for these storms. And if we go go over to the lower level and upper level winds, you see in the lower levels we are going to have enough wind to potentially support a tornado or two, and also in the upper levels. So there's definitely going to be some spin in the atmosphere as this line of storms comes through, and it's not going to be a big long period of severe weather. Most likely a brief opportunity here from around 3 p.m. Going into like 9 p.m. So that's when the severe weather could happen. Also, we could be talking about some flooding with these storms as well, which we will be going over here next. Man, look at this map here. This is lots of purples on this map, which is not good. We have large areas here of around 8 to 9 inches of rain from College Station just to the west of Houston, going up into Louisiana, maybe even getting it up into those 11-10 inches of rain out there. Then also over here in an isolated spot here in Arkansas, potentially some decent, almost a foot of rain could fall there as well. This is definitely going to shift around a little bit. This is the forecast for the next 3.5 days for that rainfall. But as you can see, there's definitely a flooding potential really all in this area over that time. So a lot of these areas, like College Station, Shreveport, Tyler, especially Monroe over there, just to the south of Fort Smith, really need to be watching this band of rain, especially as these storms come through. If you get some of those higher rainfall amounts out of one storm in a quick time frame, you can get some big floods out of these storms. So definitely want to be weather aware on all the threats. The severe weather threat, this probably what's going to be a small tornado threat, and also those floods. Those floods, they can be very dangerous. Definitely have to watch them and pay very close attention to your environment around you as the rivers rise, as water starts to make it on the road. Definitely don't want to be driving through those flood waters either. Looking over at the west coast here, you can see we're gonna have widespread 2 to 3 inches all the way up the coast here. And that's extending really from Los Angeles up into San Francisco, and then getting those higher rainfall totals over here near Coos Bay, Florence, Newport, Seaside, Astoria, Aberdeen, and Forks. So, you guys are going to have a small flooding threat with that, but nothing too serious. It should fall over a long period of time. So, keep your eyes out on those rivers and road conditions. Make sure you're not driving through those flood waters. Turn around. Don't drown. All right. So, looking at today's flood threat, that's going to be, from Houston up into Tyler, Shreveport, College Station, Beaumont, and Victoria. You can see we got this yellow shaded region. That's a 2 out of 4 for that flood threat. So definitely watch out in those regions. Then we got a marginal around that extending all the way into Arkansas, Louisiana, down into kind of central southern Texas there from Corpus Christi up into Dallas as well. Looking at day 2, you can see that slight risk expands a lot to the east here, now encompassing Little Rock, Pine Bluff, Greenville, and Jacksonville, and also kind of expands over here into Dallas, McKinney, Waco, Killeen, and Austin, Texas as well. Then around that, we have that marginal risk extending from the Boot Hill of Missouri down into little tiny parts there of Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, a tiny part there of Alabama, southern Louisiana, then going up into northern Arkansas. And then on day 3, you see that expands even further to the east here, where we have a even larger slight risk for flooding for Clarksville, Nashville, Huntsville, Alabama, Memphis, Jackson, Shreveport, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans there. So, a lot to watch out for with that flood threat there. And then coming back over here to the west coast, you can see that we do have a slight risk around Tijuana, San Diego, Escondido, Riverside, just to the east of Long Beach, and kind of encompassing some parts there of Los Angeles. And then going into the next day out there, not really too much of a flood threat on the west coast. But all right, that's it for me. The temperatures, they're going to warm up, really not too much to talk about there, so we're not really going to go over that in this forecast. Just wanted to cover the bases and the newest updates on all the other things. And then tomorrow we'll do a little bit more of an in-depth breakdown of the temperatures again. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. And if you like the video, hit that like button. Also consider subscribing if you want to stay tuned for future weather updates. And yeah, thank you guys. I'll see you guys on the next video. See ya.